Hello, welcome back. We were talking about the next sentence, that girl was wearing sneakers. And notice that in this sentence, the words that we care about are just was wearing. Why? Because those are the only words that are within brackets. That's the only part of the sentence that we pay attention to when we're investigating the phrase structure of the sentence. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Sneakers is not important. That girl, not important. We're not going to be looking at those things. So we could apply our movement test, and here we can actually use the movement test because the constituent that we're testing is not occurring already at the front of the sentence. So in other words, if you moved was wearing to the front of the sentence, you would get a sentence like, was wearing that girl sneakers? Which, if you said that, probably people would be a little bit surprised. Was wearing that girl sneakers? Probably if you gave someone a minute to think about it, they would figure out, okay, this person means to say that there's a girl and that girl is wearing sneakers. But it doesn't sound like a natural way to say that sentence. So we would say that this is unacceptable. Was wearing that girl sneakers? So let's apply another test, and then we're going to see whether it supports this idea that you actually don't have a phrase here, or whether we see a different result. So we still have to focus in on was wearing. And this time we're going to use the WH test. So we want a question that could be answered with was wearing. So what was she doing with the sneakers? Let's say that would be a possible question. What was she doing with the sneakers? And imagine somebody answered was wearing. It just sounds really weird, right? You could say she was wearing them. That would sound natural, but just was wearing. What did she do with the sneakers? Was wearing. This sounds like a strange way to answer that question. So our second test is telling us that we do not have a phrase here. Third test is going to be the pro-form test or the replacement test, and that is going to depend on if there's a single word that can replace that constituent and keep the same meaning. So that girl was wearing sneakers. Is there a single word that we can put here that will have the same meaning as was wearing? Well, what if we said something like, that girl it sneakers? That girl it sneakers doesn't make sense. That girl they sneakers. That girl did sneakers. That girl did sneakers. Does that mean the same thing as that girl was wearing sneakers? Doesn't seem that it means the same thing. That girl did sneakers sounds like a very odd way of saying that sentence. So it looks like with respect to all of the tests, the movement test, the WH question test, as well as the replacement test, things are coming out the same in all of these examples. So for this structure, that girl was wearing sneakers, was wearing is not a phrase. It's testing as if it is not a constituent. So your answer would be no. And it's important to keep in mind that you want to provide all the examples that prove why your answer is no. So you want to give a list of each of those sentences that underwent the different processes, the WH movement, the replacement, the movement test, right? All of those you need to show to prove that this is why I'm saying this is a phrase, or this is why I'm saying this is not a phrase. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Mrs. Jones discovered some fascinating facts about English grammar. Okay, Mrs. Jones discovered some fascinating facts about English grammar. And in this sentence, we're only looking at discovered some. The rest of the sentence does not matter. Anything that is occurring after or before doesn't matter. We're not going to start moving around other things. We're just going to zoom in on discovered some. So that is the key to doing constituent structure tests correctly, is sometimes it will be confusing. You'll try to think of a sentence that is a possible sentence, because that is what we do intuitively. We try to think of a sentence that actually works as an English sentence. And when you do that, you can start moving things around in a way that is not really going to answer your question about whether that thing is a phrase or not.